Sir, shall I play the YouTube video on A Note on African Studies and Conversation, Jacob Lamini, the terrorist album now?
Yes. And so you just see Jacob get a sense of who he is. Excellent.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Turn it over to Jacob. Dr. Lamini, welcome and thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Hoffman, for the very kind and generous introduction. So I'd like to, before I start, so thank you, greatly. I'd like to thank Dr. Amanda Swar. I'd like to thank Dr. Ron Crable, Dr. Monica Rojas-Stewart, and of course, Dr. Lynn Thomas, and Ms. Alexander for helping put this together. I am very happy to be back. I had a wonderful time, last night, and I can't thank you enough for your generosity. Right? I mean, how often does it happen that you have someone come back, 2 days in a row? So I appreciate your generosity. Because I am looking forward to a conversation this evening, and I'm quite excited by the intersections that define, I think, our work on this panel. I don't want to take too much time, but just to situate this book. I think this book is best understood, and of course there are many ways to understand it, but this book is best understood, I think, as a work of recuperation. Recuperating a lost archive, recuperating lost narratives, but also, charting hopefully a new, a path in the study of contemporary South African history. And this book owes, its birth, in both, intellectual but also the literal terms to the Truth Commission in South Africa. I, as a journalist, was among those who were, I think, too quick to dismiss the Truth Commission as it was taking place and as it was making, all kinds of discoveries. But over the years, I've come to, I've come to appreciate the hard work that it did in saving some of South Africa's, official, but also national archives. And this book comes out of that appreciation, a critical appreciation, a distant appreciation, but I think a necessary appreciation of the hard work that the Truth Commission did to help us get a better sense of the past, but also to help us, I think, get a better understanding of apartheid and how it functioned. So that's the one thing I think I'd like to highlight, this evening. And the other important thing that I think helps the reader understand this book is that it's an intervention at a political level and maybe at a polemical level too, in debates and discussions about the meaning of apartheid. So what was apartheid as a system? What was apartheid as a body of ideas? And what was apartheid as a habit of mind? And one of the most conventional assumptions about apartheid, and the remarkable thing about this assumption is that it's held by both people who were in favor of apartheid and those who are opposed to it. And this assumption is that, for all its failings, apartheid was at least one thing, and that one thing was that it was efficient. Right? That the apartheid state knew what it was doing when it was doing it, that it could get things done. And I think what this does, and I'm quite explicit about this in the book, is that it mistakes brutality for efficiency. Just because the apartheid state could kill, and it did kill, as we know, does not mean or does not make it efficient. And this is a point I think that is important to keep in mind, especially as more and more South Africans, with the greater distance, from the end of apartheid, wallow in nostalgia for the past, right? Nostalgia for an apartheid past where things got done, where the government at least functioned. Right? Today's government doesn't quite know what it's doing. They can't even build toilets, whereas the apartheid government could build toilets at least. That, of course, is false and it's wrong. And so this book is an attempt, at some level to make that clear. And I make that clear by taking this snapshot, right? By taking this album that the security police put together and using that to understand not just the object itself, but also the producers of that object, meaning the security police. So who were these men? And they were men, almost by definition. And what did they set out to accomplish? Did they accomplish it? And what did they use to achieve the objectives? And as I show in the book, and I hope the reader is persuaded by this, they were not efficient. They were brutal for sure, and they were not efficient. And of course, what aided their brutality, and this is in some ways where I get into trouble with the kind of work I do, because I insist on the fact, I insist on the point that what aided that brutality was Black collaboration. Right? This doesn't make apartheid right. It doesn't legitimate it in any way, but it's an important aspect of our history that we need to come to terms with. The fact that there were many Black collaborators with apartheid, and the fact that for the average Black South African, the face of apartheid, right, the face of the apartheid bureaucrat, the face of the apartheid police, the face of the apartheid military was a Black face. Right? And we need to come to terms with this, and we need to grapple with what it means. And we need to do that in ways, I think, that allow us to cut race down to analytical size, that allows, and I'm actually grateful that, most of us in this panel work on South Africa, and we know just what a burden race is when it comes to the study of South Africa. But I think this book helps us, move towards this direction that allows us to cut race down to size without forgetting for a second the pernicious effects of racism. Right? That it is possible to understand South African history without resorting automatically to race and assuming that race can explain everything, without our having to do the hard work, the heavy lifting that allows us to actually cut it down to size, make sense of it, and explain it. Both to ourselves as scholars, but also to our students and to readers. So that's what I like to say in my prefatory remarks. And I'd like to stop because I'm quite keen to hear what my colleagues have to say. So thank you.
Okay, we can stop there. Yeah, so that's Jacob. And I think those comments of his gave you quite a good idea of his project. Certainly with that book, but also more generally, he's constantly wanting to complicate the narrative of apartheid to arrive at a more sort of profound understanding of what that system was and what it did to people.
The Terrorist album by Jacob Lamini provided us with a compelling perspective on how apartheid-era surveillance operated, documenting individuals labeled as net terrorists by the state. It raises critical questions about memory, resistance, and the power of archival records in shaping historical narratives. I hope this adds to our discussion. We are nearing the end of today's tutorial. Thank you, Professor, for your detailed.
I think there may be some questions. Maybe somebody want to ask some questions.
Yeah, we can give it another 5 or 10 minutes. I actually have. I'd be curious to know among you if there's anyone who's been studying South African literature specifically.
Yes, we do have. Let me know. We have prescriptions from South African literature. We study South African literature. I think there must be somebody who's pursuing PhD or something. Students, can you say something about that?
They're getting tired. I think it's late.
Coetzee and Godimer are very popular in India, both. And in fact, one of our students is not around, but he has worked on Coetzee and Godimer also. Both of them are very popular, and a lot of students have worked on them. So,
interesting.
Yes. I wanted to just make a comment, and I agree to what you have said, that Truth Reconciliation Commission granted amnesty to many perpetrators. But the problem with the problem with those countries where such efforts have not been done is even more severe, because the pain has never been put on record. That how many people have suffered and what kind of atrocities have gone into people's, killing people, etc. Although we are here in this course to celebrate history woven around, narratives woven around history and literature connected to that. But however hard-hitting fiction is, it cannot be considered a document of evidence. An archive can be considered a document of evidence. A testimonial is a document of evidence. A testimony is a document of evidence. And when there is an evidence of somebody's atrocities, that is very important. Two communities which are continuing to live together in a country after some kind of mishap, like in India we had partition, and when we continue to live together, and then if there are other things also, like we have problems in even after partition, there have been rights of different communities, but they never come to realize or accept that who has made this mistake, or who is responsible, or how many people suffered. And then they have to continue living together by brushing it under the carpet. That
Hmm.
is, I think, very painful. That
Yeah.
never allows a country to heal, and that lack of healing or is a denial, and the denial adds to the problems, a burden
Hmm.
on the society's collective memory and its collective wisdom to move forward in a very clear way.
Hmm. And I completely agree with you, Viva. I really do, because I certainly think that the TRC was an incredibly brave undertaking, and I witnessed one of those hearings myself in Pietermaritzburg in '96, and I mean, the tension in the air was so palpable. You could sort of touch it, and just as you say, it acknowledged so much of what had been going on. It verbalized and recorded so much of what had happened, and that is a real achievement, because that is there in the record, um, for prosperity, and the thing about amnesty was, of course, that this was seen as a necessary concession, because otherwise they would not have been able to get so many of the perpetrators to actually stand in the witness box. But the basic agreement was, if a perpetrator spoke sort of truthfully of it was typically his actions, and could show that this was an act of political violence, as distinct from purely sort of criminal violence, then they could apply for amnesty. That was the basic agreement.
Okay, can we conclude the session now? Also,
I think this is a good moment to conclude, and I'll see you for a short session tomorrow. But thanks so much for all your patience this week.
thank you, sir.
We will be having a discussion after you leave. I want to talk to the participants for a while. So you had a long day, so you can take rest now. Thank you very much.
Okay, we
Okay,
conclude.
thank you.
Thank you. We conclude day 4 of GAN course, and special thanks to you, sir, Professor Stefan, for your insightful lectures and discussions. And we also extend our gratitude to Dr. Mohammad Sharjeel Chaudhary, the teacher in charge of today's session. And the test link will be shared in the WhatsApp group shortly, and you may take the test anytime before midnight. And it is timed for 15 minutes. And thank you all for your participation today, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, inshallah. And for day 5, yes, have a great evening. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, and good night. Bye.
Okay.
Participants, I would like to have a word with you.
Yes.
Uh, I can see some of the participants who are not from AMU. Uh, can we say hello to each other? Ashtami Roy, Tiasa, Priyam.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Can
Hello.
you, if it
Hello,
is all
ma'am.
right, you can switch on your videos. If it is all right for you, if it suits you, otherwise fine.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening. I'm Astami Roy. Yes.
Yes. Um.
There's a wonderful session that I have actually.
No, never mind. Never mind. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm here to just tell you that, see, we have covered the 4 days, and tomorrow we are on the final day, and we have covered almost all the themes that we had targeted in our uh, concept note. So there are a couple of more things. Tomorrow in the first session, that is, we'll have a half-hour tutorial. I want you all to have a look at some of the concepts that have been discussed in this entire course. You see that it is very important for you all to realize that what we have been doing for past 4 days, it is almost 16 hours that we had spent together, or more than 16 hours. In these hours, we have learned to see, we have revisited how history is woven into fiction and how fiction is created around history, and how different kinds of aspects of history and literature are complementing each other or are not complementing each other, and what happens in the making of all the books that we read today, as fiction books, as history novels, and books about fiction which have something to do with history. So please frame some good queries, good questions, good observations. Your tutorials, you have 2 tutorials tomorrow, a half an hour with Professor Rizwan Khan to begin with, and half an hour with Professor Stefan to close with. In between, you will have a wonderful lecture with Professor Claudia. And finally, we will wrap up with our valedictory session at 4:15, which will also be a very short session. So we will wind up everything latest by quarter to 5 tomorrow. It will not be a very long day as compared to these 4 days that you have been with us. So I want you to please come forth. थोड़ा सा आप लोग अपना participation का जो एक last day है उसको बढ़ाइए. I have not read anything from you from your side on WhatsApp or messages. Many of you have been very quiet. So please show us your participation, show us your responsiveness virtually. I know it's difficult to stay connected, to stay focused, but we have tried our best, and I want to know what is it that you want us to address. If there is some paper, some document which is not there, or some readings that you want from our side, we will supply that to you on our WhatsApp group. So this is all that I have to tell you. Is there anything that you want to say right now, or should we keep it for tomorrow? All right then, if there is no response right now, we'll meet tomorrow. See you at 2 p.m. tomorrow. Thank you, participants. Good night.
Okay.
Good
Thank
night, ma'am.
you.
Good night, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.